The truth about blood pressure. Being diagnosed with high blood pressure or hypertension, as your doctor may call it, can be dangerous and scary. The good news is that the more you learn about high blood pressure, the more you will be able to control it with proper diet and lifestyle adjustments, as well as both standard and alternative medications. Educate and empower yourself. Hypertension, or high blood pressure, is a very common problem. In the United States, 31% have diagnosed hypertension, another 30% are pre-hypertensive, and another 20% have high blood pressure, and don't even know it. If you do the math, that is over 80% of the population with high blood pressure issues. Even scarier, most doctors do not address the underlying issues that caused your high blood pressure in the first place. According to the World Health Organization, high blood pressure was around 40% worldwide, 2008, but if you consider population growth, together with an aging population, that number is probably much higher now. Also remember that many people, typically in less developed countries, most likely have undiagnosed hypertension. Blood pressure is the force of our blood against the walls of the arteries that carry fresh oxygenated blood away from the heart and out into the body. Blood pressure can vary throughout the day, but generally stays within an average range, depending on body position, breathing, stress, fitness, medications, and time of day. Blood pressure is usually lowest at night and rises quickly right after you wake up. Blood pressure is measured with two numbers. The top number is called systolic, and the bottom number is diastolic. The systolic number measures the pressure of your blood against the walls of your blood vessels as it is pumped from your heart. The number on the bottom, the diastolic measurement, represents the pressure in your blood vessels when your heart rests between beats. Blood pressure is measured in millimeters of mercury, or mmHg. Generally, a healthy blood pressure is between 90 to 120 systolic, and 60 to 80 diastolic. Blood pressures measured above 120/80 are considered high and termed pre-hypertension. Blood pressures of 140/90 or above are considered hypertension and usually require medical treatment. A hypertensive crisis is a dangerous situation when your blood pressure rises dramatically high and means that your blood pressure is 180 or higher systolic, over 100 or more diastolic. It matters if you have high blood pressure. Having high blood pressure means that your arterial walls have stiffened due to a variety of reasons that is discussed later. When blood vessel walls lose their elasticity, you are at risk for deadly heart disease, strokes, and aneurysms, bulging of arterial walls. As an example, think of an old garden hose that springs a leak. If you turn the water on full blast, you'd create buildup of pressure in the hose. That pressure will cause the hose to burst. The same thing happens if you have high blood pressure. Arterial walls get stiffer, and unusually strong surges of blood can create bulging in the walls of the arteries, even in the aorta or the brain. If these bulging areas rupture, you will have what's called a hemorrhagic stroke or a ruptured aneurysm. This is often deadly. This is what some say caused the death of martial arts superstar Bruce Lee. What is the cause of high blood pressure? While not a lot is known about the direct causes of high blood pressure, there are several key things that come into play. Often there is a genetic factor, but as we have discussed, genetic factors do not cause high blood pressure, they simply make you more likely to get it at some point. What is interesting here is that some people may be more susceptible to certain things while other factors have virtually no effect on them. Age also makes a difference. As we age, our blood vessels tend to get less elastic, so that lifestyle factors affect us more. Some research is even saying that because we age, naturally our blood pressure will rise with our age. So if you are 60 years old, your blood pressure could read 160/85, and you would be considered normal, with no hypertension. Some believe that the body is making adjustments, on its own, according to its needs. For sure, an unhealthy lifestyle definitely contributes to high blood pressure, but it often doesn't show up until middle age or so. These include smoking, both cigarettes and weed, diet high in processed and starchy foods, being obese or overweight, drinking alcohol, sedentary lifestyle, sodium intake. What are the signs and symptoms of high blood pressure? The problem with high blood pressure is that it generally has no obvious signs or symptoms, so many people may have high blood pressure and never even know it, unless they visit their doctor. However, measuring your blood pressure is actually quick and easy, so everyone should be getting it checked regularly. Occasionally some people with high blood pressure may have unexplained headaches or pressure in their head, but generally hypertension has no symptoms, unless you are in what is called a hypertensive crisis, and even then this condition may have no symptoms. A hypertensive crisis is divided into two categories, urgent and emergency. In an urgent hypertensive crisis, your blood pressure is very high, but your doctor doesn't think you have any damage to your organs. In an emergency hypertensive crisis, your blood pressure is extremely high and has caused damage to your organs. An emergency hypertensive crisis can be associated with real life-threatening complications. Signs and symptoms of a severe hypertensive crisis might include severe chest pain, severe headache, accompanied by confusion and blurred vision, nausea and vomiting, severe anxiety, shortness of breath, seizures, unresponsiveness. This is a medical emergency and may require a visit to urgent care or Medical complications of a hypertensive crisis may include stroke, and damage to the blood vessels. Some underlying issues connected with high blood pressure. Several underlying factors have been well studied regarding their effects on blood pressure. Most of us know that being overweight or obese, smoking, or eating a diet of processed foods high in sodium, fructose, and other chemical additives contributes to hypertension, but there are some other less obvious, but highly significant, factors that can also lead to hypertension. Even if you don't smoke, eat a bad diet or are overweight. So, let's dive into some of those other factors. Inflammation. One of the biggest factors in chronic disease that we have seen emerge recently is inflammation. Inflammation has been tied to most all serious and chronic diseases, including cancer, obesity, diabetes, Crohn's disease, heart disease, arthritis, and many more. Inflammation is your body's response to an invader, or an irritant. Inflammation can include redness, pain, irritation, and an hyperactivated immune system. Chronic inflammation, however, is not a good thing. A diet high in sugar and processed foods can cause chronic inflammation in the blood vessels, which then can be the start of heart disease, as our bodies lay down deposits of cholesterol trying to soothe the injured areas in our blood vessels. Recent scientific studies have shown that low-grade chronic inflammation seems to occur just prior to the onset of essential hypertension. Nearly 90% of all hypertension cases are classified as essential hypertension, meaning the precise cause is unknown. Hypertension is associated with inflammation, however, whether inflammation is a cause or effect of hypertension is not completely understood. So, the question is, does inflammation promote hypertension? An area of particular scientific interest revolves around the inflammatory marker C-reactive protein, CRP. CRP is a very common inflammatory marker in blood vessels and serves as an important measurement for heart disease risk. The study, which showed that subjects with a CRP of greater than 3 mg/L were at an increased risk of developing hypertension, compared to those subjects with a CRP of less than 1 mg/L. These findings add to the growing body of scientific evidence that shows inflammation plays an important role in the development of heart disease, and now potentially, hypertension. Information from previous studies seem to show that elevated levels of CRP in the blood can degrade blood vessel walls, causing them to be more rigid, and to not function properly. This can create higher blood pressure levels, which in turn can lead to more advanced heart problems. Other new studies also show that the presence of chronic, low-grade inflammation can actually predict the development of high blood pressure. If you want a free copy of this entire 37-page report, just drop us your email here and we will send it to you right away.